Yeah, I'll just briefly introduce myself. Yeah, if people are not comfortable with their cameras on, that's fine. But I just would like to do a quick introduction around. So if people are happy putting their cameras on, you don't have to, but if you are happy putting it on, it'd be nice just to see a quick face. To begin with, just all I want people to do is just a very quick introduction about just your name, which I can see on the screen, but your name and just what your art form is. So I will start. My name's Jarek. I'm a writer, predominantly working in theatre, which obviously hasn't been happening for the last year. So I'm struggling to write a novel again, which I haven't done for 10 years. But I also, as Harriet said earlier, I also work with lots of artists, mainly new writers, and I produce and develop their work. And in theatre, I produce their work so that they actually get to see their work on stage under normal conditions, not during COVID. So that was a really sort of bumbling introduction to me. So anyone else sort of brave enough to introduce yourself briefly on camera? Okay, I mean, the first really interesting thing is everyone is doing amazing things. Everyone's got really interesting stuff to talk about themselves and what you do. But we're all, even me, we're all kind of a bit embarrassed, like, I don't know, I do this and I muck about with a bit of that, you know. And it's really interesting that that's something I want to sort of talk about today when we're looking at professional development is how hard it is to sell yourself. So for a few minutes, just if you can open chat on the side, if you wouldn't mind just sort of typing sort of what you sort of are thinking about today, what you feel like you need as far as professional development goes. Is it, you know, a bit more confidence about yourself? Is it how to sell yourself? Is it where to sell yourself? So if anyone's got any thoughts, just type those in, then I'll hopefully make sure I cover everything that you want to cover. If not, I'll just sort of plow on in a minute, but I'll give you a minute where I'll just be quiet if you want to just type anything in the chat. Everyone knows how to do that? Yep, okay. So I'll keep sort of wittering quietly while you are doing that for a minute or so. So the things I was going to look at today, I'll look a little bit at some sort of marketing techniques, a little bit about building your brand and artist statements, which is sort of what you all just did. You all did an artist statement, but they were all a little bit, including me, they were all a little bit, not apologetic, but a little bit hesitant, I think. We're always really hesitant about selling ourselves. So we'll have a little look at that. I'm gonna have a little look about at yeah, building up your brand, your USP. So what have I got? Harriet, actually, I like engaging marketing writing. Yeah, I'm doing a little bit of that. Got some nice little formulas. I'm very OCD, so as a writer, it's really useful that I have loads and loads of formulas that I can use that help me not just in writing, but certainly in selling myself as well. So I'm going to give you my two favorite formulas towards the end today. Any other thoughts? Any other questions? No, okay, how important is social media to selling art? Okay, yeah, we're going to look at that, definitely, yeah. How does it work to do that? Brilliant, okay, so yeah, I'll do a little bit of looking at social media. It's really interesting because Harriet mentioned about writing a press release, and I dug out a press release that I'd written 5 years ago and realized that the world has changed in that 5 years as to how you sell things. So we'll talk about that a little bit. So yeah, we'll look at social media. Anything else? If you think of things, then type them as we go along. So I'll leave the chat open, but I'm going to get into doing a quick exercise so that everyone gets to wake up a little bit. The first thing I was going to chat about is sort of what I was talking about, this sort of embarrassment that we have about selling ourselves. There's a few words that I was going to use, like imposter syndrome. Anyone else? Anyone ever felt imposter syndrome? Anyone who's gone on camera want to give me a quick wave or a thumbs up on chat or anything? Got one nod. Yeah. Okay, somebody's run away. Okay. Yeah, imposter syndrome is something, and it's really interesting that we've got all women here today. Can't see any blokes here. It's something that really does affect women a lot. I think that we're not brought up to expect anything, you know, as far as achieving things in the arts. We're often sort of quite apologetic for our I'm trying to read things and speak, often quite apologetic. So I want to do a quick, I was going to do a discussion in rooms actually, but without sort of, should we try it? How many people we got? 1, 2, can we try splitting into 2 rooms for a moment, just to see if it works? I'm not sure if people are up for this or not. and just have a quick chat about if you've ever felt imposter syndrome, or sort of self-doubt, if you've sort of doubted your worth as an artist, or this sort of embarrassed modesty, you know, that you kind of feel a bit embarrassed about selling yourself. And I've got actually the second PowerPoint image has got those things that might be useful to just pop on the screen while we have. So 5 minutes time for people to just have a quick chat. Does that work? Carla?
Would you like me to just assign people randomly?
Yeah, random is probably
Yep.
sensible, yeah. So I'll see you all in 5 minutes, right?
Jarek, can you write that down in the chat, please? Like, just really briefly.
Yeah, it's on the PowerPoint, but can we not?
Oh, it's on the PowerPoint. Okay.
I don't know if we can go into different rooms and share screen.
Yeah. Okay, I'm just expecting too much from this, aren't I? Let me.
Well, we could look. Yeah.
I'll type it rather than me find it. So, actually, sorry, I wanted people to have a quick discussion. Then I was going to give you the PowerPoint, which is the sort of the antidote to this. Okay, I tell you what. Sorry, because I haven't sort of done sending people off into rooms before. I think let's go straight into the exercise. So if we could put up the one that's the thing that's titled imposter syndrome, and rather than trying to chat, let's just individually see if you can write a response to any of the 3 prompts that are going to come up in a minute.
Right, I'm going to.
That probably makes most sense.
Do you want it written in the chat or written in your book?
If you can do it on screen, the imposter syndrome thing, and people can write, this is for yourself. Yeah, you don't have to write it on the screen. This is writing for yourself.
Okay.
Okay, and it should be the second one. Next one, that's it. Right, okay, so everyone should still be able to hear me and see me. So I can't see any of you. You're all on mute. You're all, I can't see you. So I'm going to give you sort of 5 minutes just to scribble down on a piece of paper for yourself, so you're not sharing this with everyone, your responses to these 3 prompts. So what creative act gave you the most pleasure over the past year? It might have to be a year and a bit, given COVID. So what thing was a really positive creative act that you did? What achievement are you most proud of? That could be anywhere in your career. That could be in the last year. It could be the last 10 years. It could be over a lifetime. And what's the nicest thing that somebody said about your work? So just getting you to think about positives. And I will be quiet now for 5 minutes, unless some reason somebody sort of calls me back and says, stop that. Yay. Okay. So quick read of some things. So first of all, if you can give me just a thumbs up or some sort of sign in the chat that was vaguely useful, thinking about those things. Yeah, thumbs up is good. For me, it's quite interesting. I think thinking about my own creative act, I think something that I think I found most pleasurable is working with new writers or new artists and giving them the advice that I really wish I'd been given. That's something that I find really pleasurable. Achievements is really interesting. I had 2 things that I thought I could share, and I thought, well, one of them is I won an award for some work that I did, but actually I like numbers. I did say at the start I'm a little bit OCD. So I did some maths a little while ago, and over 500,000 people have seen my plays in theatres, which is for me quite a satisfying achievement. And nice things that people have said. I've got a few things, but they're things I probably wouldn't share because they're things that individuals have said to me. But does anyone want to share just on chat one of those things, something that either gave you a lot of pleasure about your work, or an achievement that you're quite proud of, or something that somebody said about you that made you feel really good, that was really positive bit of feedback? Great. So people would like to see you work in a gallery. Great. That's a really good thing. That's a really positive thing. Making piece for Westernwood exhibition. Yeah, great. Okay, so people have got stuff to feel good about. So that's a good start. See if we get anyone else sharing anything. Okay, nice thing to submit my work. A natural painter after a long break. This was lovely. Yeah, it's just really good to do this exercise for yourself now and then, to remind ourselves that there are positives, because so much of being an artist is struggling to get your work out there, struggling to get people interested, struggling to do it certain times in your life. You know, I've sort of haven't written a lot in the last year. I found lockdown really strange. I've lost that stimulus to write. So it's reminding yourself about the positive stuff every now and then. That's a really useful thing to do. Pleasure watching my Christmas window unveiled live on Facebook. Lots of oohs and ahs and wows. Yeah, I saw some of those. They were amazing. So people have said paintings are stunning. Brilliant. Okay. So people have all got really positive things that remind you that your work is good. Shame to admit, couldn't think of anything. Last question. That's okay. And it's interesting, the language we use about shame to admit. That's fine. You know, sometimes we don't think about this enough. So you will get those questions on the handout that you'll be sent afterwards, and it's worth taking a bit more time than 5 minutes to really think about those, because I'm sure if you do think about them when you're not under pressure of being on a Zoom meeting, that you will be able to think of things. There must be something someone has said at some point that made you feel really good. So, okay, that was the first little bit. So that's just starting to get you to think about that we all, or virtually everyone I know, suffers from imposter syndrome from time to time. You think like, oh, I'm not really good enough, or I really shouldn't be here, or this isn't for me, or whatever. You need to sort of acknowledge that that's the thing that lots of people have, and figure out ways to work with it. Thank you, Jarek Adams, for this workshop. Wonder what's my poetry, right? Reading that down, things social happy unleashment. Sorry, I'm muttering while I'm reading stuff and all that. Really useful stuff. Good. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to get you to think about, and some of you may have already done this, is actually to think about what's unique about you, and working on your USP, your artist statement. That's the word I'm looking for. So again, I'm going to give you a few minutes. I'll give you 5 minutes for this one, and you're going to write about 3 sentences, 5 sentences if you need to, somewhere between 3 and 5 sentences. And we will have can we in a mo have the third slide, the developing your brand, up, and I'll talk you through it when we get that up. So you're going to write 3 sentences. The first one is, there it is, let's be able to see it in a minute, is what you do and why it's important to you. So most of you seem to be visual artists of some sorts, or you seem to be using sort of various media. So I am an artist who uses such and such. Why it's important to you to do that. And then share 1 or 2 success stories. So if it was me, I would say, so right, I'm a theatre writer, and it's important to me because I feel I have things to say that that speak to other people who've had similar experiences to me. Share 1 or 2 success stories. I'd probably share, yeah, 500,000 views, and I've won an award for something or another. And then end with what your personal goals are in the short or long term. So my personal goals might be, you know, I want to see my work on stage in the West End, whatever, bit of a crazy dream. Okay, so I'll give people, I'll say 5 minutes, because this is again something you probably won't complete here, something you'll complete later on. But have a go at writing a few, like I said, 3 to 5 sentences in response to these. Okay, so do people find that useful? A few nods, okay. Again, it's probably something that you're not going to have finished in 5 minutes. I'd be gobsmacked if you have. I'd be very impressed if you had. But it's something that you might want to think more about later on. It's just a really nice thing to really put who you are and what you do into quite a very neat little package. Because some of the questions I was just reading through people have asked is, you know, about how to sell yourself. The word that came up, somebody used the word story. That was a really nice word to use. Obviously, I'm a writer, so story comes naturally to me. But as visual artists, you are having to think in a different medium when you're having to write marketing materials. So I just thought it was really interesting thinking about this as a story about you. So I've written in chat a little bit. Oh no, I've done it privately. Let me change that. Oops, dear me. Somehow I've got private on here to everyone. Okay. I've written a rough idea for an artist statement for me. So I'm a playwright who creates work about aging and the invisibility of women. My work is so far, so that's who I am and why it's important. You don't literally have to say it's important because, but obviously I think that's an important statement. My work so far has been seen in theatres in London and across the UK. That's my little brag, my sort of bit in the middle about my sharing of a success. The second little sharing is I won a Writers Guild award for theatre encouragement for my work with new writers. And then a little goal at the end, my current project is supporting older women writers to access development opportunities around the UK. So that's sort of 3 sentences really that sort of give you an overview of everything that I do and want to do. So anybody sort of happy to share anything, either typed or does anyone want to unmute and say anything? Just give me a little wave if you want to, and then we can, I keep forgetting your name because it just says Lenovo tab, but unmute yourself and remind me of your name.
Yeah, it's Clancy.
Clancy, right, I'll write that here so I've got that. Hi.
Hi, I wrote a sort of a mini artist statement. I'm compelled to create. I find art an escape. I also like to use it to convey a feeling or emotion. Sometimes it may convey a message about health, humanity, and the environment.
Mm-hmm.
Draw and paint many subjects, including portraits and wildlife, and I like to have a focus.
Fab. Okay, that gives us a really sort of like just a toe in the door to who you are and what you're offering us. So it's excellent, really good start. Thank you for sharing that. Anyone else feel brave enough to share? It doesn't have to be your whole statement. It could be something about it or a thought about writing it or a question. Anyone else? Viva? Yeah, go for it. Unmute.
I'm Viva O'Flynn. I make the cake of your dreams come to life for your important celebrations so you can enjoy special moments with your family and friends free from stress and worry. I've won competitions from cake, photography, art, and poetry writing. I'm also sharing food for thought with Coates Art Podcast. And I'm currently hosting Inspiring Millions with World Humanitarian Drive on Facebook Live. And my goal is to share love, joy, and inspiration with the world.
Amazing. That's brilliant. That's really lovely. That gives us a real window into who you are. That tells us a bit about your personality. It's not just a blank statement that's, I do this, I do that, and I want to do the other. We suddenly have got a picture of who you are, which is really important when you're trying to sell yourself. A lovely confidence there, but it didn't feel at any point like you were bragging. None of us were rolling our eyes going, oh, do you think she is? You know, it was really warm and lovely. And a really nice thing that you put in there, I don't know if anyone else spotted this, that often we talk about, I do this, I do that, I want to do this. There was a you in there somewhere. You actually included the person who's going to be experiencing your art. Can you find it again in what you just read out? There was a bit where you used the word you. If you don't mind, just
something like, I make the cake of your dreams come to life for your important celebrations.
Yes,
so you
beautiful.
can enjoy.
That was really lovely. That you're not just selling yourself, you're actually including other people in your dream, if you like, or your vision. So that was really lovely. Anyone else want to share a bit? Lisa or Jenny, you don't have to. Shake your head if you don't want to. Lisa?
Go on then, I will. I just wrote, I make visual art that explores structures and express what it is to be a human, a compulsive drive to find visual representation and expressions of my experience of being in the world.
That's really lovely. I love the word compulsion. That's something that so many artists feel. A word that's always overused is passion. The number of people that sort of say, oh, I'm passionate about what I do. The word passion is I wouldn't say don't use it, but be aware that it's an overused word. So I really like compulsion. That was a really nice one. A really nice. Fab. Okay, again, that gave us a really different image that from Viva's. Viva's was very soft and fun. Yours was quite, and I hate to use the word passionate, but it felt more passionate, which is great. You know, you're all very different. You're all individuals. So that was brilliant. Anyone else want to share? Tracy left us, or is she still here? Or no, Tracy, you're
No, I'm still here. Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to share?
No, I haven't really got that far in mine. Everyone else is
Don't
just
worry.
really great, and I've just written like sentences at the moment. So
That's fine. Okay. Well, it might be something that you take a bit more time to do because, yeah, 5 minutes is not long. Jenny, you waved. Do you want to share?
I've just put things like I use try and break the usual barriers of techniques and mediums, and also about what people might consider using within art. So I like to use found and repurposed items in unusual ways, and I express my faith and what it means to me. One of the biggest things that happened to me last year was that I'd made a picture that contained 50 repurposed items to make leaves in a painting, and a stranger to me bought it at an exhibition, and that's the first time a stranger has bought anything of mine.
Wow, that's brilliant. That's great. So, and that's not a brag. That's just a fact. You know, your work is good enough to be sold, and so that's great. I liked at the start you said about what did you say right at the very beginning? It was something about
breaking traditional barriers to consider artwork to be.
I mean, that's really strong. I think I would, if you had more time to think about it, think about exactly how you like to give us a bit more information. So think about, because most of you, I think, seem to be visual artists, think about painting a picture with your words. So think what the person is going to see when they read those words that you've said. So just give us a bit more of the how you want to wow us with your art.
Okay.
Anyone else? Amy or Harriet or anyone else want to share? No? 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 Okay, all right. Okay, so that's something that people can take a bit more time to sort of have a little think about in your own time after this session. Like I said, I'll give you notes with those questions on again. This next bit, I do want to have a bit of a discussion. I know everyone seems a little bit shy about chatting today, but I'd like to have a little chat about who you are creating work for, who your audience is. So actually, let's just go for it. Let's try rooms. Can we put people into 2 rooms so that people might feel a bit happier chatting for a moment? And I will type into, because I was going to use the next thing on screen, but if people go into rooms, I will type the questions that I want you to chat about. Does that work?
Sorry.
Carla?
Yeah, did you want to go into one of the rooms?
I'm going to leave people on their own without me for a minute, because then they can talk about me if you like, or whatever. So go into rooms and I will type here the things I want you to think about. If I can just get this to start typing.
must still be chatting in room 1.
Okay.
We've had most of room 2 come back.
Can you, because you can yank them out, can't you, after a while? So it seems really cruel, but
It did. Well, it did ask you if you wanted to leave.
yeah.
Like a countdown. Bit ominous.
Here we go. Brilliant. Great. Okay. So either again type in chat, or is anybody willing to sort of share? I'll sort of say why I thought those questions. Did everyone see the questions in chat? Everyone did get them. That's clear. Okay. Yeah. The reason I sort of put those questions is we'll talk a little bit more about specifically selling yourself in a bit, which always sounds awful, but you know what I mean. Is certainly the first question, like who you creating your work for. I did a talk with a bunch of students in a university that were doing a master's degree in performance, and they were telling me about this piece of theatre that they were creating, and I said, oh, brilliant, who's your audience? And they looked at me blankly. They had no idea who they were making a piece of theatre for, and I was just, I couldn't comprehend how they could create a piece of theatre without knowing who they're creating it for. But we're always told as artists, you know, create for yourself, create something that you want to create. But that's a great bit of advice until you actually want anybody to look at what you've done. So I just thought it'd be really interesting to start thinking about who your audience is, because you can't really think about selling it until you know who it is you're selling stuff to. So did everybody sort of identify who your audience is, or who your audience might be? No, not quite. Jenny shaking her head a bit, but okay. All right. Well, I suppose that's perhaps one of the first things we really need to start breaking down, is to think about who might see your work, and it may be in places that you weren't expecting. So I suppose you can tackle these 4 points in different ways. The second one, who are you promoting yourself to? And I use the word gatekeepers. So I mean the people who might be interested in showing your work, or who might be interested in commissioning you. So I suppose those are people you need to identify quite early on, and they might then lead you to an audience that you want to access or maybe hadn't thought of accessing. So finding who the gatekeepers are in your particular art form is useful. Key platforms for sharing your work. A few people mentioned things. There was a Western exhibition I saw. Really thinking about where you share your work. I mean, with me, it's usually theatres, but in the last year it's been online, audio things, Zoom things. So really thinking about where you can share your work, who's going to see it, what are the platforms, and how you access those. I suppose that's perhaps a useful one. So I've given a few suggestions: competitions, invitation, or submissions. So does anyone want to type in chat any thoughts about how you find routes through to an audience, if that makes sense? Any thoughts? Anything come up in the conversations? You can unmute and speak if you like, or type it into chat. I'm told you were all busy chatting in rooms, but everyone's gone very quiet on me. Clancy.
Yeah, as I'm in a small group of artists, sort of a breakaway group. We met at Art Shape, and we try and do a couple of group exhibitions every year. And at least once a year. I'm actually not very good at promotion and that, but one of the members contacts the Guildhall every year, and we have an exhibition there every year. And they're good at contacting galleries and museums and places like that, and trying to get exhibitions around.
Okay.
So, but yeah, we've sort of, since the lockdown, we haven't done anything online or anything.
Yeah, it's been a bit tricky. This last year has been a bit of a tricky one. But that's interesting that you've identified, you said you don't feel very confident about promotion, but you've found someone to work with who is good at promotion. So that's a useful thing in itself. You know, not everybody is going to be brilliant at marketing. So if you can't do it yourself and you're really not confident, then finding those other people to sort of put yourself in a group with, that's a really useful thing to take away from today. If you know all these formulas and things I'm going to give you in a bit aren't useful, find someone who you can pass them on to and say, hey, how about, is any of this useful? So brilliant. Okay, any other thoughts anybody wants to share?
we had a bit of a discussion about you know, how it feels boastful to put stuff out there, and it's also quite brave, isn't it? You know.
Yeah, but that goes right back to that thing I was talking about at the start, the imposter syndrome thing and this embarrassed modesty. Yeah, that it's finding that fine balance between, you know, boasting. I mean, if you said, you know, I have a world-beating piece of art, you know, that's boasting, that's just silly. But, you know, if you can confidently talk about it using that artist statement, you know, that to put yourself out there and say, look, this is what I do, this is why I do it. I've done it really well before and I can prove that, you know, then it's not boasting, it's marketing. But it's really interesting that we keep coming back to that feeling of being embarrassed about selling ourselves and selling our work. It's a disease that all artists struggle with. It really is. So it's something that you need to just keep working at getting over. So any other thoughts? Any questions about that, about, you know, how you, about being seen, getting your work out there? I'm going to carry on anyway. I think a few people might still be off waiting for the kettle to boil, but I'll chat to Jenny's made a few interesting points. So okay, yeah, so how do you find out about places to show your work? That's like, you know, really good question. And Tracy's brought it up as well. Jenny said, you know, she doesn't know where to get stuff seen. This is that thing that I learned really on in my career, is that hideous word, networking. That it's just so important to build up that network of contacts. You've got a great one in ArtShape. The ArtShape is a brilliant resource as far as I can tell. But yeah, somebody's already said sign up to the Gloss Arts Bulletin. I'll come on to social media in a minute. Somebody asked right at the start about how important social media is. If you don't like it, the answer, I'm sorry to say, is it's really important these days. Social media is where I get all of my contacts, my links, and everything. That's your sort of your pool of resources, if you like, these days. Yeah, I'll chat about it in a bit more specific detail in a minute. Somebody's saying, I think it was Jenny was saying about, yeah, that you don't think about who's going to see your work while you're creating it. Yeah, I do think about that when I'm creating, but I can see for some artists that actually might be quite difficult. That might stop your creative process a little bit if you think about who's going to be viewing it while you're creating it. So that you just have to come at it from a different point of view. I would come from a point of view of, right, who am I going to write this for? Who's going to see it? Where are they going to see it? That would influence how I write a piece of theatre. But if that's not how your brain works, then you just have to look at it once you've created your piece. Say, right, I've got this piece of work. Who do I think would be interested? Where do I find them? I'm not going to be able to give you all the answers to that, but I'm going to hopefully be able to prompt you as to how to find those. And we'll come on to social media in a minute, because that really is the most important network that you can build for yourself. What we got says a few things. Network with Gloss Info. Yeah. Quick show of hands, those that are on screen. Who is on Facebook? Most people. Yeah, me. Yeah, I'm on Facebook. Yeah, okay. So most people are on there. Okay. Facebook, love it or hate it, it is a really useful resource. There are groups for everything. In Gloucestershire alone, I mean, for writing, there are at least a dozen different groups that share opportunities for publications, for workshops, for performances. So you really do have to dig around on there. Just put in your art form, just put in artist painting Gloucestershire and see what comes up. That really is a really good resource for people to start with. But okay, I'm going to sort of move on slightly. Hopefully I am addressing these questions as we go along, and I'll leave a bit of time at the end for a bit more chat. I've realized something as well. I'm used to working with writers who are really chatty and will talk lots, and I've got a group of visual artists in front of me who every time I say, right, anybody want to speak, you all go, no. Okay, so we've done quite a bit now, so let's get a bit braver for the last bit. The next bit I was going to think about is about building up your brand. So we've had a quick chat about Facebook. I was going to say, if we put the image up, I lose all your faces, so I'm not going to ask Carla to put that image up. We'll just go through. So Facebook. Anybody got any brilliant stories about how they've used Facebook? I will start. I mean, basically, Facebook is where I connect with other writers, and other writers will often share information about competitions or theatres that are looking for work, or theatre companies that are looking for work. I hooked up with someone last year. The only piece of live theatre that happened for me last year happened in America. In the middle of Utah, somebody performed a short piece of theatre of mine just because of a connection that I'd made on Facebook. So anybody want to share any other useful things that have come out of connecting with people on Facebook? And you can unmute. Viva, yeah? Don't forget to unmute. Everybody forgets.
So before the lockdown, we were having this fantastic fair, physical venues. And then during the lockdown, because COVID happened, we brought it online. So we made this fantastic virtual fair event every month, wherein the traders would promote themselves. And then also, you said something about community groups, Jarek, online on Facebook groups. So it's like they've got these community boards, and it's great when people recommend you. It's like when they're looking for something and then somebody recommends you. I think that really helps also boost your profile in a way, I guess.
Yeah. Being seen, it's so hard. Certainly for people, I mean, I was always like, I was trained as an actor, and I was always the kid who was like, you know, front of the stage in school plays. So I'm okay with being seen, but I know a lot of people, certainly a lot of artists, find that excruciatingly difficult, putting themselves out there. But it's a really useful resource, and you do need to get people to have a picture of who you are. So it's not just about sort of signing up to those things, it's about sharing your story, that word story that came up earlier, sharing things that you've done, sharing bits of information. So people have, if somebody's doing something, they can think, you know, oh, hang on a minute, Lisa, she'd be perfect for that. She does that thing that nobody else does, or you know, oh, Jenny, yeah, she did that really interesting thing the other day, and she used those resources, those materials that I hadn't seen anyone else doing that. So Jenny's the person I need to speak to. So it's about building up that sort of image of yourself in people's minds. So Viva, really useful. Any other thoughts? Anyone else? Hands up if you want to speak. No? Okay. Oh yeah, Harriet, go on then.
So so it's not me. But ArtShape, I mean, obviously social media is massive, and we've managed to really, you know, we were worried about our audience figures, obviously, with exhibitions and things, but in actual fact, we've grown, you know, and some of our artist talks have gone to Mexico and to, you know, Australia, they've gone global. So it really has been brilliant for that. And the thing about when we get the artists to share on their page as well, like with Rachel Gadsden, then, you know, it's kind of that everybody, so for instance, if everybody shared the Westernbert link, then, you know, it just the reach is just ridiculous, you know, absolutely huge. And somebody who has done really, really well, and she really has kind of built up her brand, and she's made it very personal, who you probably all know, but Jane, who's been another mentor on this, who's part of the Tewkesbury, she's Tewkesbury Art Studio. So she set up her own studio and was doing workshops and stuff. But she always gives that personal thing. She puts up photos of herself, you know, and I mean, it's not everybody's cup of tea, but you know, it's certainly nice, and you know, you feel like you get to know her. She's very good at it, and she's done very well with it.
Yeah, it's very tricky sort of finding how you want to present yourself to the world. Yeah, like I said, I know some people who their stories are very personal, they're very funny. Some people post lots about their kids. Some people post about their pets. You know, some people post about their teddy bears. I don't know. Some people have different ways of sort of attracting an audience. And it's not just posting about yourself. It's also sharing things of other people. That's a really interesting thing. The people that I really connect with online are people who regularly, I know if I post something that needs sharing, I know they will share it for me. And I know they'll share it for me because I would share their things. So it's not just about you all the time. It's about, yeah, really thinking about how you can engage with other people, how you can help them as much as you ask them to help you. So that's quite a useful thing. Has anybody got either a website or a Facebook page? Anyone got that? No, okay. Oh yeah, I mean, some people, Viva has, yeah, okay.
No, but I'd like one day.
Jenny?
I've got a Facebook page, but
Yeah.
not a website.
But not a website, yeah. I mean, I think lots of people use a Facebook page. Sorry, was someone else trying to speak then? Nope. Okay. A lot of people use a Facebook page as like a first step towards having a website. I have to say, for me, I couldn't function professionally without a website, which a lot of people are terrified of how to put one up and that. Again, I just say, I think you have to just find someone, usually find a teenager who can help you do that. They're the best and they're the cheapest. But it is, if you can afford it, a website, it's your shop window. It's a really useful thing. Things like blogs. Anybody here blog? No, it's something I used to. You don't see it much. Carla, yeah, you're a blogger? Yeah, go for it. Tell us about it.
I used to be. I used to keep one quite regular, but then I sort of dropped off.
Yeah.
I used to really enjoy it actually. It keeps you kind of rolling creatively because you're kind of talking about your day and
yeah,
it was good.
A blog is useful. Those of you like Jenny said, you'd like a website, but you're probably not quite sure how to go about it yet. If you're not quite up to doing a website, a blog is sort of like a toe in the door one, because on a blog, it's easier to set up. You just go to somewhere like Blogspot is the one I use. Just Google blog, and you'll find places. So go somewhere like that, and you can share stories, but you can also share images and things. So if you're not up to doing a full website, a blog is a useful starting point. Any other? So Clancy, I thought you were just waving your pen. I thought you were about to ask something. No, just waving your pen about. That's fine. Okay. So press coverage we'll come to in a minute, but actually a useful thing to sort of talk about briefly is we're talking about selling yourself, and we're all talking about how difficult that is. The people that I really turn off from are the people who all they ever do is sell themselves. I've got a friend who's an actor. She was on a soap, so she was vaguely famous for a while. She's gone on Facebook in the last 6 months, and all she ever does is sells herself. She never comments on anybody else's posts. She never shares anything. All she does is like me, 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 me. That's bad selling. It's social media is it seems so obvious, but the word social, it's about connections, it's about sharing, it's about giving as much as you get back. And a brilliant sort of thing to think about is think about those Christmas adverts that everybody talks about every Christmas. You know, when the John Lewis advert comes about, I mean, even if you haven't seen it, you know what it's about because it's everywhere. People talk about it. They don't make an advert where they say, hey, look, here's our shop and here's the stuff we sell in it. They tell stories that make people talk. So, you know, as an artist, it may be that you're not sharing images of your work, you're sharing the journey that you had towards making your work, or the experience that you had making that work, or the experience of wanting to share it. And you can even share things like your doubts about, you know, wondering about, you know, how is this going to be received? This is how I hope it's going to be received, but I'm really interested to see what people's responses are. So keep coming back to that word, which is easy for me as a writer, but keep coming back to that word story. So, and it's also about, I think it was Jenny was asking about not knowing what to share, where and how. It's about using social media to build up those networks of potential audience, but you're also building up a network of potential partnerships, people who can help you, people who can say, I know someone who might want that in their exhibition, or I know someone who's looking for pieces for a publication. I know someone who's looking for someone to write something about their experience. So social media, love it or hate it, is something that you have to dive into. And kids will all roll their eyes at this, but I do still think Facebook is the most useful. Twitter, I use a bit. Twitter I probably use to connect with other artists, but Twitter's quite hard work. I don't know if people find that one useful. Yeah, I mentioned blog. YouTube for visual artists. YouTube. Anyone ever put together a video and shown it? A few nods. Okay. The best way of learning, I mean, I can talk to you lots, but the best way of learning is look at people who are doing well or who you admire and see how they've done it, see what they're putting out there. Especially if you're worrying about the thing about bragging about yourself, look at how other people have worded their artist statements, or look how they're selling themselves, and look at the ones that you connect with. If someone sells himself in a way that you go, oh God, I'm not interested in their work, then that's not the right thing for you. So find people who speak to you somehow and think, okay, that's really interesting what they've said. Amy, yeah, go on.
People on here might agree that Instagram might be most natural for visual artists.
Yeah.
And I prefer it actually. But it does all depend on what you're trying to say and how you're trying to use this social media, doesn't it really? I mean, Facebook's very it's great for finding out about events, things like that, but Instagram telling your story, and or not necessarily your story, but giving an insight into your day, it's quite user friendly, and yeah, it's nice to and also it builds your portfolio quite nicely, doesn't it? 'Cause it's very visual.
Yeah, I think Instagram is really useful. I think it's sort of one of the sort of more recent ones that people are only just getting to grips with using, and certainly, yeah, for visual artists, it's really good. I've got a few friends who are visual artists, and I used to see them more on Facebook, and I do see them more now on Instagram. So yeah, again, that's another, if you don't want to go down the website route or the blog route, yeah, you're right. Instagram's probably a really good place to build up your profile, because people can then just go and look at a whole sort of mosaic of all the different things that you've shared. So that's another really good, really easily accessible shop window. I think I still find Facebook easier for that networking thing, the thing that Jenny was asking about earlier, about how do you find places to share, people to share with. I still find Facebook groups a little bit easier, but you're right, as a shop window, Instagram, certainly for visual artists, is brilliant. Okay, we've got half an hour left, so I'm going to blast through a few things that hopefully will be fun. Let's do another exercise. I've been talking for a long time, and that's hard to listen to someone talking, no matter how fascinating and wonderful I am. Let's do a quick exercise. So back to selling yourself. Think about something that you want to sell, something that you've created, a piece of art that you have created. And I'm going to give you 1 minute to write down something. You can write it on pen and paper, or you can, if you're brave, you can type it in chat. You're selling something of yours to a friend, a really good friend of yours. So you've created a piece of work and you're telling your friend about it. And you're just going to write the last thing that you would say to your friend. So you might say, oh, well, I've done this. It's mixed media. It's images of trees. It's blah, blah, blah. It was commissioned by so-and-so. All I want you to write is the last sentence of that conversation, where you will say, you will love this because, and I just want you to finish that sentence. And it won't be perfect in 1 minute. So again, this is something you can work on a bit more later. Jenny, that's nice. Lovely. Anyone else brave enough to share in chat? Okay. Looks good. Tasting better. Viva, excellent. I love the love coming out in your pieces. This is great. It's a really nice theme. And at the moment, in the world that we're in at the moment, I mean, I don't know about anyone else, I can't watch anything miserable on television. I'm watching pure soppiness every day because I just need that at the moment. So yeah, never be afraid to throw a bit of love in. Put a lot of myself into it. It's made with love. Yeah, we've got another bit of love from Clancy. Carla. Yeah, nice. Yeah, nice, interesting how you don't see this person. That's really interesting. Excellent. Okay. If anyone wants to throw any more up, but then I'm going to ask you to do one more. The next one, you're selling your piece of artwork to a potential audience, someone that you don't know. And again, think about the whole conversation you might have with them. But the last thing that you would say to them, you're just going to write that sentence, and it's, my work will make you. So my work will make you throw up, cry, whatever. Finish that sentence. And if you're brave enough, type it into chat for me. Lovely, yeah. Thinking about your own dreams and feelings. Again, that's using that useful you. That word you is useful to keep coming back to, thinking about the other person. Jenny, lovely. Yeah, lots of emotion, which is great. You know, we want to provoke an emotional response from people. So lovely. Curious and I hope amused. Nice, nice, excellent. Celebrate love and life now. Excellent. These are all sentences that are really connecting you to people, and really nice that you've all sort of got the idea of that you. So it's not always just I do this, I am brilliant, because it's you're going to enjoy this, you're going to invest in this somehow. So that's really nice. Any more? Or is that everyone's? Don't worry if you haven't perfected it yet. My work will make you happy. Perfect. You can't ask for much more, really, can you? So, okay, right. I'm going to do a couple more things. We've got 20 minutes left. So I'm going to give you, I did say I'd give you some formulas, didn't I? I do love formulas. Like I said, I as a writer, I use lots and lots and lots of formulas to help me. In writing, there's a story formula that every story has the same shape. It has the same 8 points. The really interesting thing I found out about is I spoke to a musician who went, oh, well, that's how you write a piece of music. And I've spoken to artists who say, oh, well, actually, that's how you write a piece of art. You start with an idea and then you develop it, and then something unexpected happens. And then you get to a really exciting point, but then you pull it back and then you shape it. And so formulas I like because humans are coded to look for patterns. Certainly as visual artists, I can't imagine any one of you has ever looked at a cloudy sky without seeing images up above you. There are no images, they're just random shapes, but we see things, we make sense of it. That's what humans do. So I will get Carla, is she still there? Oh, yeah, you are. Can you share the marketing formula 1 for me? And I'll talk through that. Okay. Some of you might have seen this before. If you haven't, great. If you have, I'll go through it again. This is a really useful formula. It's called fascia because it's obviously you can see the letters down the left-hand side. I use this every time I am sending an email to someone where I'm trying to sell my work. If I'm trying to promote one of my plays, I use this every time, and this will be on the handout that you'll all get sent to you, so you don't have to scribble this down, but I will explain as I go along. So familiar ground, that's where you start with something so that you and the person reading what you're sending them, they know immediately what you're talking about. So I would start with something like, I'm a playwright writing about ageism in the arts or something like that. So they know who I am, they know what I'm talking about, they understand it, it's clear. So they're not getting something that straight away leaves them going, eh, what's this about? So make a really clear opening statement about who you are and what it is you're doing and what you're offering. Attract attention. That's where you need to start pulling them in with something about you, something about your work. So so I would perhaps try and think, well, what is it about my work that is a little bit different? So I can say, you know, that I'm using family experience to talk about women's aging or something. So if I'm sending this to the right person, if I'm sending it to a 25-year-old guy, that's not going to work. But if I'm sending it to the right person, who I think will be interested, giving them a little bit more information about why it is I'm pitching this thing that will attract their attention. Show the benefits. This is what comes back to that word you. So I'm not just selling something because I want to sell it. I need to show to them that there's a reason for them to buy it. So the benefits would be, I know there's an audience for this. I could even say, okay, theatre audiences are made up of 30% women over the age of 50. And this piece is specifically speaking to them. So the person I'm pitching this to can see, oh, actually, yeah, there's a reason for me to be interested and invested in this. So I'm showing them the benefits. With conviction, you've all been pretty good at doing this so far. This is where you kind of say, look, I really, really want this to be out there. I really, really think this is the right thing. I really, really think that this is the right time, the right place to be saying this or showing this or discussing this. Increased desire. Can you throw them with something even bigger? Like, this is building on a piece that I did a year before, which had really good feedback. People said, throw in a quote, you know, somebody said, oh, this piece of work changed my life, or whatever quotes you can use. So really increase the desire of that person to work with you, to have your piece of art. And state action is sort of an obvious one, but sometimes sort of people forget, you know, so what do you want them to do? Do you want them to come back to you with an email? So, you know, end with like, so let me know what you think. Here's my phone number. Here's how you contact me. You've got my email. Here's my phone number. Or take a look at my website, or take a look at my Instagram, give them a link. So you can see all, those would be a great one for you, artists, visual artists. So state action could be, yeah, here's a link to my Instagram page. Please take a look at my work. So you're directing them to do something, so they don't have to finish by thinking, okay, right, I'm really interested in this person, but where do I go with this? You guide them, tell them. People are busy. People often respond well to being given the information that they don't then have to go and find for themselves. So if we go back to sort of the shared screen again in a moment, any sort of thoughts or questions about this one? So if we get rid of the image for a moment, that's it, Ty, yeah, go back to that one. So any thoughts or questions about that? Is that useful? Has anyone come across it before or anything like it? No? Okay. Did that make sense, all the different bits of it? Anybody want me to go over one of the points? No? Okay, brilliant. All right then. So that you will get it in the handout that gets sent off. So if there are no questions on that one, okay, good guide, useful, brilliant, okay. I'll give you another one that's just slightly different. So if we can go to the Formula 2, Carla. Brilliant, okay. So this one, I like things to be really clear, but this one is quite a fun one to look at. Flipnosis, there's a book called Flipnosis. This is where I got this one from years ago. It's a similar thing. It's sort of 5 points to think about when you're creating a marketing thing. Simplicity, make it easy. People's minds aren't complicated and people's minds are often busy. So that goes back to what we said with the last one, the familiar ground thing. Go in with something really clear and easy. I am a visual artist. I work with found media and create pieces that are, give them the information that they need so they straight away know who you are and what they're dealing with. That thing that we did right at the start of this morning where you all put your camera and your mic on and you said, I'm Jenny and I do this. That's that thing. That's the simplicity thing. So work on how you sort of talk about yourself and your art form in a really clear and simple way. Perceived self-interest. We covered that a little bit in the facial one before. It was a bit about the showing benefits. So, you know, if I'm reading an email from you, what am I going to get out of it? Is it like, oh wow, I really want to work with this woman. This woman is doing something that I've not seen before, and I will look good if I put this on in my gallery. Or, you know, this woman is doing something really interesting, and I know another artist who I really should be linking them up with. So somehow in interacting with you will benefit me. So what's the self-interest? Coming back to that, you, what will you get out of it? This is one I like. Incongruity, something to make us sit up. This is the sort of flipnosis thing. The flipnosis was all about sort of catching people unaware. If you read 100 submissions in a day, the one that's going to make you jump up is the one that suddenly throws in, oh, and I discovered this whilst I was a nude underwater model in the Bahamas. Straight away, I can see a few people like, you're scratching your head, you're giggling. It's something that makes you go, oh, right, okay, that's interesting. So if you can throw in something a little bit incongruous, something a little bit out of the ordinary, just to wake us up a little bit, that's good. Confidence, coming right back to that thing that we were talking about at the start this morning. You need to be confident about what you're doing, and you need to learn to get that across, and you need to get over that awful embarrassment of it. It's finding that balance. It's not bragging, it's being confident. We are attracted to confidence. People really are, if you think about it. Think about, okay, let's go somewhere really awful. Think about women's romantic fiction. Every woman in those books fancies the bloke because he's confident. We are, whether we like to admit it or not, we are attracted to confidence. It can go over the top sometimes, not to get too political, but think about, you know, certain ex-political world leaders. There's confidence and there's insanity, okay? So you will find your own balance, a place where you're projecting confidence in your ability as an artist, but you're not completely going bonkers. Okay, empathy. It's if you can make a link with the person that you're selling your work to in some way, like again, it's choosing your market. So, you know, with me, I wouldn't try and sell the play that I'm working on at the moment to some 25-year-old Oxford graduate male. I would be looking at theatres that do want to work with women, theatres that have older audiences. I would want there to be some sort of example of how what I'm doing has some understanding for the audience that is going to engage with it eventually. So that's where the empathy bit comes in. So again, we'll get rid of that and go back to a full screen. Okay, so again, any questions or thoughts on that one? I just find different people's minds work in different ways. I like the fascia formula. Some people prefer the flipnosis is a little bit looser, so it works for different people. Any thoughts? Nothing major? Okay. Maybe it would help if we had a sample. Yeah, I should have done one, shouldn't I? What I have done a sample of is, which you will get a copy of email. I'll add it into the email because I did have to do a pitch the other day that I used this for. So who asked for that? Was it Viva? Yeah, I will add that to the stuff that you get after the session. So thanks for asking for that. And I would have done probably fascia, so I'll do that. So we've got 10 minutes left. Has anybody, first of all, does anyone want to share anything that you found sort of particularly useful today?
It's all been really useful.
Yeah, who's saying that? I missed who's saying that.
Clancy, sorry.
Clancy, high up there, yeah, okay. Yeah,
it's been really useful, really interesting to, it's made me start thinking what I need to do. And need to be on top of it. I do find Instagram and all these things quite overwhelming.
Yeah.
But I think this sort of might help me sort it out a little bit in my head.
But I think that's what a lot of people feel with marketing, is that it is really overwhelming. That's good to acknowledge that there's so much out there now that you've got to do. It must have been so much easier years ago, certainly for writers. You just wrote something and handed it to someone and they dealt with it for you. Nowadays, every artist, you have to be your own promoter, your own marketer, and that's really hard. So it is overwhelming. Break it down into little steps. You know, don't look at it as this massive task. I mean, you're not going to go away this afternoon and deal with everything we've talked about. But this afternoon, you might go and have a little look at Instagram, or maybe join a group on Facebook, or you might just sit quietly and you know, write one of these pieces, you know, write your artist statement or something in a bit more detail. So just bite it off in small chunks. Don't think about it as this massive task that is so overwhelming. Just, yeah, bite at it in little chunks. And once you've done that, all those chunks will join up to form a big picture, which is what you're aiming for. Any other thoughts or questions?
So I would really, really like it if everybody from today, whether they've already shared the Western Burt thing or not, whether everybody who is on social media could like think about, you know, what they've done this morning and put a few of those principles into practice and do another Facebook share post of the exhibition.
Fab.
And, you know, and I don't think it matters that you've already shared it, because, you know, people see different things on different days. A lot of people don't go on Facebook every day. So, you know, unless they're trawling right back, they might not have seen it. You could even do a little disclaimer, you know, sorry if you've already seen it, but it'd be really nice if everybody did share, you know, on their social media with putting in a few of these things that you've been talking about into practice.
Yep, great.
Can I say something there, Harriet? Being very computer non-savvy, do I actually share it from my Facebook when I look at it?
Harriet, you're on mute, yeah?
Yeah. So hopefully there's a button when you look at it at your Facebook. If you go to the art shape one,
Yeah,
there should be a share option.
so I have to go to art shape.
So if you find the post, we'll put it out again as well, so it's fresh.
Yeah.
And then there should be, if you just like look on the post, there should be a share thing, so you can share and then you can write a comment.
Excellent. I'll try and do that then.
Okay, with it, and I shall be looking to see what you've put into practice.
I'll try and be good, darling.
Okay,
and it might be really interesting to think about how you presented yourself in the past. Is there something that today you might think, oh, actually, maybe I could say something a little bit differently about myself, or could do this in a different way? So just, yeah, keep thinking about, and you're always evolving. I mean, the stuff that I'm telling you now, if you come back to me in like a year's time, it probably will have all changed by then, because, you know, the world it's getting faster and faster, and it is quite overwhelming, as Clancy said sometimes. So just bite off the little bits that you can do, and occasionally push yourself outside your comfort zone to do things that you kind of think, oh, I should, but I don't know how to. Yeah, it's always useful. There's always someone you can ask for help. Like I said, if it's a particularly technical thing, just find a teenager. So the other thing I will share as well, because I know this was called writing a press release, which I haven't really covered at all. Because when I dug one out this morning, the last press release I wrote was back in 2016, because which was something that went in the Gloucestershire Echo and Citizen and all that. Print media is sort of dying. It really is disappearing. It used to be, when I first came to Gloucestershire, it was really important to get something in the Echo or the Citizen. That is not a major thing anymore. So I will share a copy of a sample press release as to how you would lay one out. But I think certainly, I mean, in theatre, press releases are useful because there's a star system. You want to get people to review what you've done, and then you can say this is a 4-star, 5-star play or whatever, or something like that. But I think it's less useful. Print media and the press is less useful than social media nowadays. I don't know if anyone agrees, disagrees. No, okay, yeah, it certainly is. Social media is where you find your audience, certainly during lockdowns, certainly during COVID, that's where audiences have been. Is there any other questions? Anyone, is there something that you were thinking at the start? I think somebody asked about what, where and how. We sort of covered that, I think. That's about building those networks of people that will give you those answers. Marketing plans and strategy. I think it's about little steps rather than sitting down and thinking, right, I'm going to write a complete marketing plan for this project. I think it's more about little steps and following up on things that work. So if something does work, if you post something on Instagram and somebody acknowledges it and it says something, make sure you do respond to that. If someone says, hey, this is really interesting, you know, oh, my mum would really like this, you know, acknowledge that, get into a dialogue. It's a conversation, social media. It's not just you shouting into the void. So get those conversations going, says she, shouting into the void. So anybody want to say anything? We've got a few minutes left. So any last thoughts or questions?
No, it's really making me go back to ArtShape's tone as well. And with new pieces of work coming through, it's just something that I think will be worth looking at anyway. So yeah, no, it's been really good for me to have a good think about all of this, and those formulas are going to be super useful.
Because yeah, you're not selling pieces of work. I'm not selling a play. You're not selling a sculpture. You're not selling a painting. You're selling you. And that's the thing that as artists you always have to remember. You're not selling the product, you're selling yourself, which we're not very good at doing. And especially women, I think, find it hard because we all think, oh, who's going to be interested in what I've got to say or what I've got to show? And the truth is, like, I'm interested in everything that everyone said here today. So it's just, yeah, finding those people who are interested. I'll stop talking now. Any more questions or thoughts?
Well, you're definitely not shouting into the void. I think we're all listening carefully.
Brilliant.
So, and it's actually the name of one of my pictures, Shouting into the Void. So
brilliant. Okay, excellent. Well,
yeah, I found it really useful. It's made me kind of very start to think about how to go forward, really.
Brilliant. Okay, good, useful. Well, unless there's anything else, can I just say really big thank you. Everyone was really terrified looking at the start this morning. So thank you for opening up. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being willing to talk and share your things on chat. I always find these things are really useful for me as well, because we all stop thinking about these things, and every now and then we get so engrossed in the creating of art that we forget that we want people to engage with it. So thank you very much for prompting me to think about these things as well. And it's been a real pleasure. And I hope to come across some of you on social media or exhibitions or whatever.
In real life, maybe even in real life, eh, Jarek?
Ridiculous. Never, I'm never coming out. I'm loving being locked away. Yes, it would be actually lovely to see some of you at some point, somehow in the future. So thank you. I'll hand it over to Harriet to end. Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you very much, Jarek. That's been great. Absolutely great. And
brilliant.
You know, and if we do get those tasks done as well that I've snuck in, then that'll be smashing too.
Brilliant.
But yeah, thank you so much. And you know, we'll see you all soon.